Show what we got going on here. This is gonna be a solar panel. I'm putting solar panels on the roof. So I've got two systems already. I'm going with a separate system just because I want to see how cheap I can build a system. This is gonna power a freezer I already have. I got the freezer in the shop and I want to move it into the cabin. It sips power. I found it on Amazon a while back. And so here's some of the parts that I've got. It's gonna be 400 watts driving this. You can see here I've got 100 watts, so actually it's going to be 600 watts. But for this, today we're installing 4 panels at 400 watts. Here I've got a combiner box that I made. I got another video on that. And the hard part, I got to get on that ladder and get on the roof and then start nailing it down. In this cardboard box, get over here, the cardboard box are the Reliant cables that will tie the panel into the combiner box. So the next place we're going to the roof. So I want to show you what I'm doing. Here I've got the panel staged and the combiner box. We're on the roof now. Duh. So here's the drill, of course. You see my shadow. Okay, I got a caulk gun. And what I do, I'm a one-man gang here. I pop the line through here. You can see my other panels. I match those. So I put one screw in, and what I do is I measure it first. I put that RTV down. That RTV is self-leveling RV caulk. So I'll put it down one, and now I don't have to have 4 hands. I can raise that up, caulk it, raise that up and caulk it, raise that up and caulk it. And then I'm going with the roofing screws that have a built-in gasket, and then when I'm done, I'll caulk over it. So let's just enjoy the view while we're up here. Way in the back are the Smokies, and then here's the turbine. So I'm going to keep working and then show you the next step that I'm doing while I work. Appreciate you hanging out with me. Well, since we were together last, I've got these panels mounted. Little trick I do, I've got solid green wire. That's my ground. You bond these panels, they got to be grounded. But I'll wrap that solid wire around these solar panel leads. That way I don't need 3 hands. And something else I'm doing, I've got my material stays, the caulk gun, the drill, and these fender washers. We'll go over to the combiner box and I don't fall off the roof. So I'll let this sit out in the sun just a little bit. It needs oxygen to get going. So I've got, I didn't go stingy on the caulk. And you see the pole saw. The reason I got the pole saw, if we walk down here, there's a little bit of shade hitting that panel. I'm going to come up here and cut this tree. It really makes a difference. If you want to do a little experiment, get a meter, set it on 12 volt DC, hook it up to the panel and run your hand over it. You'll be shocked how the voltage will drop just that little bit. If you think about it, well, I got all these panels, I only need 400 watts and I'm driving 600 watts. Well, I'm cheap. That panel cost me $100. You see about a quarter of it's covered up in shade. Well, that's 25 bucks. I'm not going to throw 25 bucks in the wind. So just give you a little bit more view of the cabin. There's the turbine. We get 2 cities on the over there antenna. You see something else, these panels are in the shade. I got plenty of power. They're just for the lights and the TV, but I am going to move them over here to get more sun. And then there's the garden, and there's the view. And this camera does it no justice. I can't believe how blessed I am to have this view every day, especially in the morning when you wake up. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and mount that combiner box. Appreciate you watching. Well, you can see there's less shade here. I got the trees trimmed. Nice view. So, got the combiner box. Got it mounted. There's the cables. I'm going to call it a day, but I'll show you how this works on my mounting. So I'm going to walk the roof, try not to fall off of it. So you see this? That's an SOW cord cable that I've got covered up with roofing mastic. SOW can handle the sun, but I still cover it up. There's your solar panel cords, cables. Right there they are. Got those covered up too. They can handle the sun, but I don't trust it. So one more thing I'm going to do, I'm going to clean these panels off while I'm up here, get the pollen off of them, and then I'm going to call it a day. And next thing we'll be doing, we'll run the cable through here and go inside and hit the solar panel setup that I got with the charge controllers and all that. Appreciate you hanging out. So I'll show you what's going on here. We're on the ground looking up at the roof. That's the combiner box. That's the SOW cord. I've got roofing mastic covering it and nailing it down. It works really good. This protects it from the UV. I'll come here and put a drip loop. One, for a drip loop so water doesn't come just running down it. And two, eventually I'll have gutters here. So what'll happen, you see the LB here, I'll come and go into it. That's another drip loop. And then into the interior wall. Let's go for a walk. And I'll show you what's going on with that LB. So, the LB goes to a conduit. Here's the conduit. Wire will come through here. I'm changing this 20 amp breaker. This was just for a test fit. It's going to be 50 amps. There's the red wire going to it. I'll also use this for a disconnect. I'll trim out a longer piece. That way the negative will come here to the negative. There's also a ground. Same route. There's my ground. And that'll be done. I was going to show you the solar panels getting hooked up, but thanks Phrenology. You sent me the wrong cables. You sent me a bus hookup for solar panels, not the MC connector type. So back to the internet and reordering. Great. But that's how I'm going to get the wire in there. So that's it for this part. So for those that had a little bit of trouble visualizing, there's that conduit. And here's that cable. I'm using cable. I don't like using conduit. You'll get more bang for the buck. This stuff is tough as nails. It's from the mining industry. It can take heat, can take cold, can take UV. It's tough as nails. And the wire that I went with was a number 6. Way overkill. But no voltage drop. So there's that. Let's go outside and you can see how that drip loop turned out. Go for a little walk again. So you can see the loop. There's the loop. Stapled. Another drip loop going in the LB. I'll caulk that up to keep the bugs out. And that's how it works. Also, I'll caulk up where that cable's at just to cut down on a draft. And cuts the bugs from cutting in too, just in case. I'm going to show you how the wiring wound up being. So like I said earlier, that's the conduit coming from the roof. The white wire is actually red now. That's a 50 amp breaker. It's labeled on this breaker where the battery hooks up and the auxiliary being the panel. So I had extra wire. I cut it long by extra wire. That way I could come down here, go to my ground bar, and then the negative coming from the panels is now going to this charge controller. And that's how it all wires up. It gets pretty easy. Always have a disconnect. This turns off the panels. This turns off the charging circuit. It goes to the batteries. I have an overload circuit protection. Always have a breaker or a fuse. That's how it wires up. It's pretty simple. Black to black, red to red, ground to ground.